going to be a very exciting one. I've been wanting to film one of these before the end of the year is over, and also I love watching these kind of videos. So this video is going to be 10 before the end, and that means all the books that I would like to get to before the end of the year and the 10 books that I am prioritizing to try to get to before the end of this year. This also includes some trilogies, though, and some series, because these are all, like, trilogies and series that I've been putting off. So I am going to include them in this video. And also, they're all physical TBR books. So these are the 10 physical TBR reads that I am dying to get to before the year is over. And then I will talk about some Kindle reads, but the 10 before the end for me means like physical TBR. Like it could be a Kindle read. They could all be Kindle reads for you. It's up to you the way that you prefer to read. It doesn't matter. It could be 10 audiobooks. So I am just going to hold up some of the ones that I'm going to be talking about. So these are probably the most priority for me are these 5 books. But one of them is a duology, but I really do want to get to these specifically before the year is over. I didn't even realize that that's how I set it up. But the first one is Brandon Sanderson's Waybreaker. Now, I am someone that just wants to say, hey, I've read a Brandon Sanderson book, because I have not gotten to any of his books yet, because he just really intimidates me as an author, but also, like, I know probably once I do get to his books, I am probably going to be absolutely and utterly obsessed and enthralled in his worlds. But the reason why I have Waybreaker is because this is a standalone fantasy book from him. So there's only one book. And I got recommended this book to me watching Books with Emily Fox. She constantly recommends starting with this book if you're wanting to jump into Brandon Sanderson's universes, because he has multiple series. He has the Stormlight Archive. He has the Mistborn series. He just has like all these very, very high epic fantasy long series that kind of just intimidate me, to be honest. So that's why I picked up this book, and I am so excited to get to this. I think this is definitely going to be a priority for me before the year is over. So I'll just tell you guys a brief synopsis of each book. So it says, a standalone novel of the Cosmere universe shared by the Stormlight Archive and the Mistborn saga. Oh my god, I didn't even realize this was, like, set in kind of the same universe. Because, like, a lot of people say that his universes are interconnected, and they're kind of, like, some little, like, multiverse kind of Easter eggs in, like, each of his books or each of his series. So that is so awesome. So this one says, I cannot pronounce these names. Tilier, capital of Holadren, is a colorful city by the sea where colorful crowds bustle through sunny streets and worship heroes who have been reborn as gods. Ruled by the silent, mysterious god king, the Pantheon, is nourished by offerings of breath, the life force that keeps them youthful. Exiled in Idris, the formal royal family reluctantly betrothed to a princess to the god king. Arriving in Telefir, she finds both the city and the marriage are not at all what she expected. Her only ally is Lightsong, a god who is skeptical of her own divinity, who fears that war with Idris is inevitable. This sounds so amazing, and I am so beyond excited to get to this. I think I am definitely going to prioritize this. It's probably the longest book that I want to read in December, but like the font, even though it looks small, it looks like it's pretty readable, because there's not that many words on the page, because like sometimes with small books it's like jam-packed with like really, really small font and like really small spacing. So there's like so many words on the page. Like, I don't want to sound like that girl that's like, oh my God, there's so many words in a fantasy book. Like, and I'm literally going to talk about the book that she trashed just because she was like, there's too many words. No, I'm actually saying like smaller books do tend to fit more words onto the page. So it just tends to be a little bit more slower to read because the font is like really small. I'm not commenting on whether or not those words are necessary on the page like she did. So, but I think that the spacing in this is really, really well done for a smaller book, that I don't think it's going to be as tedious to read, but I say this without ever going into one of his books, so hopefully, wish me luck, but I think I'm going to love it, but I think it's going to take me a little bit of time to read it, so I don't know, maybe I'll just save this for January, but I don't want to push off these books any longer. I'm like so excited to get to them. And then the next one, which you guys know, I keep on putting on constant TBRs or monthly TBRs every month, and I just don't end up getting to it. I don't know why. I need to read this book. So, of course, the second one is Stephen King's Billy Summers. I don't know why I still haven't gotten to this. Everybody has their ups and downs with Stephen King. Like, if you've read all of his books, guaranteed you will find that everyone doesn't love every single book that he comes out with. But most people that have given him a try, there are certain books that they recommend that are great. Like The Shawshank Redemption and all of that. But, like, there's some, or, like, It, or, like, all those, like, horror kind of books that are just classic Stephen King. But you guys know, for me, I am a baby. I don't like horror books. But I was like, if I'm going to give Stephen King a try, I really want to read, like, something that's, like, thriller or, like, horror thriller. Because I know there's, like, a couple of other books that I'm interested in by him. Like, The Running Man sounds like an interesting one. It's, like, kind of similar to the Squid Games. But I have to start with this because this has been on my TBR for months. And the reason why I got this book was because of Haley Pham. After she read this book, I love how it matches my nails, like, perfectly. That's funny because it has, like, that metallic. I didn't realize that these are probably blood stains. I don't know why I thought they were leaves. But it matches my blood-stained hands. So, yeah, I really do want to get to this before the year is over. Again, this is probably, like, the second longest book that I want to read because this one is 514 pages. So it is a bit longer, but again, the font is not like, actually I feel like this font is even smaller than the font in Waybreaker, but like these are books I just really want to take my time with and like enthrall myself into them because I feel like this is going to be great as well. So this one says, bad people need to pay a price and the price should be high. Chances are if you're a target of Billy Summers, two immutable truths apply. You'll never even know what hit you, and you're really getting what you deserve. He's a killer for hire and the best in the business, but he'll do the job if the assignment is truly a bad person. But now time is catching up with him and Billy wants out. Before he could do that, though, there's one last hit which promises a generous payday at the end of the line, even as things don't seem quite on the level here. Given that Billy is among the most talented snipers in the world, a decorated Iraq war vet, and a virtual Houdini when it comes to vanishing after the job is done, what could possibly go wrong? How about everything? So it just sounds really good, and I'm really dying to get to this one. So hopefully I will be able to before the end of the year. The next one is on my TBR for November, and I think that this is going to be the last book that I read in November, but I am definitely going to be getting to this book before the month is over, and that is Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale. Again, this book has been on my list for a while. There's a lot of good, like, super popular, like, very recommended books on this list for me, so that's what I'm starting with, is, like, all the, like, big kahunas, like, all the ones that, like, people say, like, are must-reads, like that, or, like, ones that people are like, I can't believe you haven't read that yet. But I finally did read my first Kristen Hanna book this year, and that was Night Road, and I listened to it, and I literally fell in love with her writing. And I knew I was going to pick up this book eventually. I think I picked it up back in September, but I felt like November was, like, the perfect time to read it. So with the way that my reading schedule is working out for this month. This is going to be probably the last book that I read in November. I love how literally the fact that I literally talked about the three longest books that I plan to read before the end of the year first. I didn't even plan that. I'm like, how did that even end up in the same stack as the other two? I'm like, I didn't even sort it that way. I just put them on top of each other. So it's like, it's just funny. So this one is 564 pages. So this one is longer than Billy Summers, but I'm also dying to read this. I just really do want to read this before the year is over. If I don't get to those other two books, this one is going to be such a accomplishment for me, but also I feel like this one is like the highest priority one on out of the three that I talked about. So this one says, this is a really short synopsis. It says, with courage, grace, and powerful insight, best-selling author Kristen Hanna captures the epic panorama of World War II and eliminates an intimate part of history seldom seen, the Women's War. The Nightingale tells the stories of two sisters, separated by years and experience, by ideals, passion, and circumstance, each embarking on their own dangerous path towards survival, love, and freedom in German-occupied, war-torn France. A heartbreakingly beautiful novel that celebrates the resilience of the human spirit and the durability of women. It is a novel for everyone, a novel for a lifetime, so I know that most people that read this absolutely love it. I feel like I'm going to be crying my eyes out. I don't know how much I'm going to that I'm going to read of this, because I think it's around Thanksgiving is when I'm finally going to be able to get to it. But I'm hoping to just read it during the last 3 days of November. I think if I give myself 3 days to read it, I think I'm going to be absolutely enthralled in this anyway. So I'm just super excited to read it. So that is the next book. And then this duology has been on my list for forever. But of course, I really, really do want to get to these. And I don't know why I haven't read them yet. Like, I don't know why I keep on putting off certain trilogies and duologies. I'm like, Caitlin, it's a duology. You should be able to just fit it in somewhere. It's only 2 books. But obviously, I'm talking about the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. I still have not gotten to these, and people are probably yelling at me in the comments right now, being like, girl, how the hell have you not read these books that you're talking about? Because I feel like everyone has read them except for me. But I really do want to get to these. These are actually like Leigh Bardugo's like highest rated books. Like Crooked Kingdom has like a 4.65 on Goodreads. Six of Crows is definitely higher than like a 4.3 or 4. I think it's a 4.5 something. So everybody loves these, and from what I've seen out of this duology is that people like The Familiar, and I didn't even realize that that was one of her books. I didn't realize that is it Hellbent and Ninth House are her books too? I'm not really sure, but I think The Familiar is one of her books. Now I gotta look that up. Hold the phone, because I need to get my phone. Let me see. Let me not say misinformation. Let me actually look it up. Leigh Bardugo. Yeah, she did write Ninth House as well. I was about to say she did read it. Yes, she read it because she fucking wrote it, Caitlin. So she wrote both. Out of those, I've heard better things about those than actually the original Shadow and Bone trilogy. People say that the Shadow and Bone trilogy, like the books, are much harder to get into than the Six of Crows duology. And then there's also the other 2 books. I don't know if they're part of the Six of Crows. No, the King of Scars duology. I think it's a duology. Yes, it's the King of Scars and the Rule of Wolves. And it's still in the Grishaverse. So it's still a spin-off of Shadow and Bone, but out of everything, people say that you can read these on its own. You don't have to read Shadow and Bone in order to read these. But I think in order to read those other two books, I think you will have had to read these or the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I'm not sure which one you're supposed to read first if you decided to go into those two instead. But from what I've heard, you can read these by themselves. So I just really want to read them because I've heard such amazing things about them. Even if somebody didn't love them, they still really like them. Like, I haven't really seen anything negative about these. So it says Ketterdam, a bustling hub of international trade where anything can be had for the right price. And no one knows that better than criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker. Kaz is offered a chance at a deadly heist that could make him rich beyond his wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. So that's all I'm going to read of that. Super excited to read it. I did watch the Shadow and Bone series on Netflix, so I feel like I don't really feel like I need to read those before I read these, and again, it's not really necessary. And then Crooked Kingdom, of course, this one says, Kaz Brecker and his crew have just pulled off a heist so daring even they didn't think they'd survive. But instead of divvying up a fat reward, they're right back to fighting for their lives. Double-crossed and badly weakened, the crew is low on resources, allies, and hope. As powerful forces from around the world descend on Ketterdam to root out the secrets of the dangerous drug known as Jurdaparum, old rivals and new enemies emerge to challenge Kaz's cunning and test the team's fragile loyalties. These sound so amazing. I might just prioritize these in December and just get them out of the way so I can finally say I read Six of Crows. So I might just read these. I'm really torn as to what I want to read in the first week of December. I think it's probably just going to be a mood read thing. Let me just mention this one before I go into the other series that I really want to get to. But this one is another standalone fantasy book. And this one was also recommended by Books with Emily Fox. This is one of her favorite books of the whole year. And this was one of her 5-star reads. And this one is Blood Over Bright Haven by Emma Wang. It just came out in hardback a couple of weeks ago because it was going to be traditionally published because it was so successful. And I have just been wanting to get into more standalone fantasy books. And also, I kind of want to do a video where, do you really have to read, long-ass fantasy series in order to be a fantasy reader? Because just because you're a fantasy reader doesn't mean you have to read all of these long series if you're intimidated by them. So standalone fantasies are just a lot more easier, like duologies or trilogies, rather than 5 to 10 book series. They're just long and sometimes you don't feel like reading all of it. So this one says, the first woman ever admitted to a prestigious order of mages unravels a secret conspiracy that could change the practice of magic forever, and this standalone dark fantasy from the author of The Sword of Kagan. Oh my god, this sounds amazing. Look at this map, you guys. Hold on. Look at that map. That is awesome. Some of the maps are so hard to read. This is so simple, but also so cool looking. I haven't even opened this book yet. I haven't even read the synopsis. I just was so intrigued by it just because Books with Emily Fox recommended it. Is there another page? No, I don't think so. Is this another page or am I tripping? No, it's just blank. It says, for 20 years, Sayana? I'm reading it like a scion, but there's an A at the end. So Sayana. Sayana has devoted every waking moment, oh my god, can you read, to the study of magic, fueled by a mad desire to achieve the impossible, to be the first woman ever admitted to the high magistracy at the University of Magics and Industry. When Sayana finally passes the qualifying exam and becomes an high mage, she finds her challenges have just begun. Her new colleagues are determined to make her feel unwelcome, and instead of a qualified lab assistant, they give her a janitor. This sounds so good! Yes! Okay, so super excited for that. Can't wait to read that. That's definitely going to be one of my priority books in December. Okay, now let's talk about well, actually, there's 3 trilogies, but maybe I'm just gonna mention them, like, even though now it's technically 11, these are trilogies that have been in my list, like, forever. I just don't know why I didn't grab it before, but these are all on my TBR for November. So I probably will get to this trilogy before the end of the year because honestly, I still want to read this trilogy while it's still fall. Sorry, my screensaver just went on. And that is the Belladonna trilogy. I only own the 2nd and the 3rd book because the 1st book is on Kindle. So let me just pull that one up really quick so I can just read a brief synopsis. But I have been pushing off this series for like months at this point, like not as long as the 2 other ones that I'm going to talk about, probably like a couple of months, but it's Belladonna by Adeline Grace. And the first one, it's a gothic fantasy series, so I don't know why I still haven't gotten to this because I want to read this, like I said, before the fall is over because I feel like it's like the perfect time to read these just before winter. And it says, orphaned as a baby, 19-year-old Signa has been raised by a string of guardians, each one more interested in her wealth than her well-being, and each has met an untimely end. Her remaining relatives are the elusive Hawthorns, an eccentric family living at Thorn Grove, an estate both glittering and gloomy. Its patriarch mourns his late wife through wild parties, while his son grapples for control of the family's waning reputation and his daughter suffers from a mysterious illness. So, that's all I'm going to read. So I have the 2nd one because I got the Barnes & Noble edition with the pink sprayed edges. So it's called Foxglove. Super excited to get to this because they're just so beautiful. So this one is... What is the page number for this? Epilogue 454. No, it's not 454. I think it's 449. So this one's 449. And then Wisteria, I got the hardback because literally look at this. Like, look at how pretty the inside book is. And then they have end papers. Like, so beautiful. So I was like, I need that. I'm not going to read the synopsis for these 2 because I'm just super excited to read them. I don't know why I haven't taken the stickers off some of these yet from Target. I literally hate them, but it is what it is. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe that is only 10. Maybe I just forgot to grab Belladonna, because that seems to be 10. Okay, so the next one I've been putting on my TBRs for the past couple of months, and I still have not read this trilogy, and that is the Daughter of the Pirate King trilogy by Trisha Levenseller. Honestly, if I don't get to more than 2 trilogies in December, because the way my reading schedule is working out for this month, even though I am ahead in my reading count this month, and I do plan on finishing the book that I'm currently reading tonight. I'm just gonna binge it because like I literally just have not been in the mood to binge a book in like weeks, and now I really want to binge this book before today is over. So I'm gonna read like right after this for like an hour. So anyway, Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. I only grabbed the first one because the other 2 are sitting on my TBR right now and they're just sitting on my shelf. But I really want to get to these. I've probably read the synopsis like twice at this point, but I'll read it one more time like in other videos because like I said, I keep on picking it for my TBR and then I end up not getting to it. So this one says, there will be plenty of time for me to beat him soundly once I've gotten what I came for. Sent on a mission to retrieve an ancient hidden map, the key to a legendary treasure trove, 17-year-old pirate captain Aloza deliberately allows herself to be captured by her enemies, giving her the perfect opportunity to search their ship. More than a match for the ruthless pirate crew, Aloza has only one thing standing between her and the map. Her captor, why did I say that so weirdly? The unexpectedly clever and unfairly attractive first mate, Raiden. But not to worry, for Aloza has a few tricks up her sleeve, and no lone pirate can stop the daughter of the Pirate King. I don't know why I haven't read this yet. It sounds so freaking good, but there's like quite a few priority romantasy books that I want to read next week because I am actually working on a romantasy vlog right now of like all the popular romantasy books of the moment and also new releases. So that vlog will be up by like probably a little bit before Thanksgiving because I'm only on my third book of that video and I think I have like 7 in that video that I want to read. But I really want to read this, so I definitely want to get to that. And these books would just be a long shot because if I do read the Belladonna trilogy, the Daughter of the Pirate King trilogy, and the Six of Crows duology, that's going to be like a lot of priority ones that I've just been pushing off that I would like to read in December. And then there's also 3 Christmas books that I would like to read the week of Christmas. And then there's a couple of books that I might put in between that are just palate cleansers along with Billy Summers. So those and Waybreaker. So I don't know if I'm even going to be able to get to these other 3 series because I'm dying to read them. But I don't think we're going to get to them until January. But I wanted to mention them because there's still ones I really do want to read this year. But it just depends on what I'm in the mood for. If I decide to read this over the other trilogies, then this is what I'm going to read. So I still wanted to mention them. And that is This Woven Kingdom by Tahira Malfi. I don't know why I still haven't read this. And I'm just going to talk about both of these at the same time. Also, Shatter Me by Tahira Malfi. I still have not read either of these series, especially Shatter Me. Like, I don't know why I keep on putting this off. I might just like read the first book on Kindle because it is on Kindle. I just want to say I read Shatter Me this year, like at least the first book, but I think Shatter Me is going to be the first thing that I go into in January. I'm just going to devote the first week or 2 of January to reading Shatter Me. Like, I don't care. Like, I have to read this series probably at least before Onyx Storm comes out by Rebecca Yarros, which is the 3rd book in the 4th Wing series, which like wouldn't be like such a priority. I mean, obviously I'm going to read it as soon as it comes out, but I'm like, I need to prioritize this before that comes out at least. I think that's a good goal to have. So I think I'm just going to save this for January, but I did want to mention it in this because I keep on pushing this off and I wish I had the time in December to read this. But I felt like if I didn't push this to next year, I wouldn't have had time to get to all the other books I'm literally mentioning because I'm probably going to get to a majority of those books in December. I'm basically telling you my entire December TBR, and then I'm just going to finish my November TBR right now. I'm sticking to my November TBR basically the whole month, and I'm feeling really good about it because I've read all of the books on my TBR so far have been from my November TBR video. I have not drifted to any other books. I haven't like just chosen a random book on Kindle. No, I haven't. So Shatter Me, have to read this, but it's probably not going to be read until next year. But I just wanted to mention it so far. I don't think anybody doesn't know the synopsis by now, but I'll just read it real quick. It says, no one knows why Juliet's touch is fatal, but the reestablishment has plans for her. Plans to use her as a weapon, but Juliet has plans of her own. After a lifetime without freedom, she's finally discovering a strength to fight back for the very first time and to find future with the one boy she thought she lost forever. So this is the debut series by Tahira Malfi. But a lot of people say that they actually love this series even more. And also this one is obviously more mature because she had written the Shatter Me series first, and then her writing kind of evolved with this one. And I really do want to read this one. This one would even be more of a priority for me than Shatter Me. And also this trilogy I got for my birthday. And I still haven't read it yet. So I don't know if I'm going to read. I'm probably just going to post another Goodreads poll and ask the Goodreads poll people that vote which trilogy should I read next. Because I actually posted that back in September, and I put just 2 options, and I put Caraval and Daughter of the Pirate King, and Caraval won by like a landslide. So now I'm going to do Daughter of the Pirate King, Belladonna, and This Woven Kingdom, and I'm going to ask people which one should I really read first. And we'll see, but I really want to read this so badly. So this one says, forbidden romance steams up the pages of the Persian mythology-inspired fantasy series opener in a luxurious saffron-scented world where devils whisper unwelcome prophecies and princes fall in love with ice-eyed djinn. Hopeless romantics will relish the euphoric agony of anticipation as they watch these fated lovers sort through their feelings. I just wanted to read that little blurb, and then the synopsis is, to all the world, Eliza is a disposable servant, not the long-lost heir to an ancient djinn kingdom forced to hide in plain sight. The crown prince Cameron, just like my brother's name, Cameron, has heard the prophecies foretelling the death of his king, but he could never have imagined that the servant girl he can't put out of his mind would one day uproot his kingdom and the world. Just sounds so good. So which, like, you guys can also comment down below. Please scream at me and tell me which one I need to read first before the year is over, or which one I really need to read before the year is over. This Woven Kingdom, Daughter of the Pirate King, or Belladonna. I really would like to hear people's thoughts. Or maybe no one will comment. I don't know. It depends. Why are these going to fall over? Okay, and then the last one, which I doubt I'm going to get to in December, but I really did want to get into some more epic fantasy because I really haven't read epic fantasy. Like, I've mostly read YA or romantasy. Like, even the fantasy books I've read have been more YA, like Cruel Prince and The Song of Silver Flame, like Night Duology, which I think is one of the best fantasy books I've ever read in my life. I think that duology is fantastic. Once Upon a Broken Heart, Caraval. Like, I really just want to get into some heavy fantasy books. And this one has been so high on my list for a couple months. And I also got both of these with birthday money that my best friend gifted me. And I'm dying to read these. And that is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. And The Fires of Vengeance is the second book. I just didn't feel like grabbing every single book in the trilogy. So, like, I just showed you guys the first one. And, like, Shatter Me is a 6-book series. So I was just going to show you the first one. And then with Foxglove, I only have the second and the third book. So it'd be weird if I showed you just the second book. But I just wanted to grab these because these have such amazing reviews, and a lot of people recommend this series or these books if you just want to read a fantasy series that's like not Brandon Sanderson. People say you have to read these books. And Booked and Busy, she doesn't really give out a lot of 5 stars. She gave both of these books 5 stars, and she read them like at least 3 years ago. But also the third book in this series comes out next year. But it doesn't come out until, like, I think April. So I would have, like, a couple of months in order for me to get to these. So I might just save these for next year. But I don't know when. Maybe February, because like I said, in January, I really want to get to Shatter Me. I also haven't even read Red Queen yet, and that's been sitting on my shelf for forever. I don't know why I keep on pushing that off. And also the Assassin's Apprentice trilogy and the Shadow of the Gods trilogy by John Gwynne. I picked up the third book when it came out, and that was almost a month ago already. But I hadn't read the series, but I've just heard, like, such great things about that trilogy that I really want to get to that too. But also, these have been sitting on my shelf longer, so I really wanted to read these in December, but I don't know if it's going to happen because I have other trilogies I really want to read. I thought I was going to be able to read Belladonna in November, but I only have 2 more weeks left in November, and again, there's other priority reads that I want to read before the month is over. So anyway, this one says, a world caught in an eternal war, one young man will become his people's only hope for survival. Game of Thrones meets Gladiator in Evan Winter's The Rage of Dragons, a novel that started as a self-publishing sensation and has become one of the most acclaimed epic fantasy debuts of recent years. Like, that's a lot to claim, but it just looks amazing. Doesn't this book look so cool? And this one is quite long. I think, well, actually, it's not that long. It's only, I thought it was like a chonker and it was like 700 pages, but no, it's only 535 pages, so it's actually not even that long. It just looks big and intimidating, that's what she said, but I really do want to read that. And then the second book, this guy right here, like, look at these. Aren't these amazing? And this one, I'm just going to read them because, like, honestly, the synopsises are so short. It says, an ousted queen must join forces with a young warrior in order to reclaim her kingdom in the second book of this groundbreaking epic fantasy series that has redefined the genre. So, I just really want to read this. And how long is this one? This one's only I think it's only 5 something. That's the glossary. It's only 504 pages. So honestly, these books are a lot shorter, a lot shorter than I thought. So I, again, really don't know. Maybe I'll just post what series should I read next. And I'll include this in the poll. And then I'll see what people have to say. And if I end up reading those, then I'll read Six of Crows next. Because I just need someone to pick one of those series to win, and then I will read that series, and then I'll just read Six of Crows after that, because then I won't feel as guilty about getting to it, because I really do want to get to it anyway. And then I just wanted to mention 6 books that would be potential. They're not 10 before the end, but they're just potential palette cleansers that I will be reading in between some of these series. And I think 2 of them are definitely going to be read before the year is over, because I really do want to read both of these. So the first one is definitely going to be How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. I know I keep on putting this book off. It was on I think it was on my September TBR, but somehow I think my October TBR, and I just ended up never reading it. But I did actually read a Catherine Center book this month, right after the election, because I'm like, I did tell you guys that I am working on reading Catherine Center's backlist, so I did actually finally read another one of her books this month, because I had only read 2 before that, and I think I read Hello Stranger back in, I think it was like June or July, I think it was June, and then Happiness for Beginners I read in August, so then like it had been quite a couple months. I think it was like at least 2 months since I had read my last Catherine Center book, so I really wanted to read What You Wish For, and that was on my TBR for October. This one was on my TBR, I think, for September. No. This was on my TBR for September. What You Wish For was on my TBR for October. I don't know why I'm forgetting about October, because it's like, oh, October's Halloween. It's obviously not on my TBR for that, but it was. So basically, like, what I've been doing throughout this month is just working on my October TBR prompts that I wasn't able to get to because I was reading like all of my spooky reads in October and like other like new releases or priority books that I wanted to read in October. So I ended up reading What You Wish For in November. So now I've read 3 of her books, but now I really would like to read at least 4 of her books before the year is over. So I really do want to read How to Walk Away. So I'm just going to mention these because they're still like books that I want to get to before the year is over. This one's probably the highest priority one besides all the other books I've mentioned. But out of all the books that I want to read, those are the highest priority, are the ones I mentioned. Those are obviously my 10 before the end. But I also think I'm going to read this one anyway, because I do want to read another one of her books. And then the other one I definitely want to read before the year is over is You With a View by Jessica Joyce. I did read The X-Files back literally last month, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I've also heard great things about this one, and literally right after I read The X-Files, I ran out and bought this book because I really wanted to read this book as well. I'm not going to read the synopsises for these. unless you really want me to, but this was only to mention these because, again, these aren't my priority reads, but I definitely want to read this, like, in between, like, one of the trilogies that I end up picking. I do want to read at least one or two romances in December, so I'm going to be reading this one, most likely. And then the other one that's a potential palette cleanser, but I don't know if I'm going to get to this one until January. But I really want to read Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Like I said, Ali Hazelwood is a very hit and miss author for me, but I really ended up enjoying The Love Hypothesis, and I actually ended up enjoying her books after Bride. I do think that her books were getting better for me because I actually did like Check and Mate more than Bride. I just didn't love it. And then I really, really liked The Love Hypothesis. So I think throughout reading her books, and also I own all of her books. I don't know why. I don't know why I have the urge to own them. But I have Love on the Brain and I have Love Theoretically. Also, I keep on pushing Love Theoretically down. I don't even know where it is at this point. I think it's on my cart. It should be on my cart. But I haven't read that either, or Love on the Brain, and then I have Not in Love. But if I end up reading this book before the end of the year, this will also be my 4th Ali Hazelwood book. I guess I'm going to read her entire backlist too, but I don't know. She just like kind of intrigues me. I don't know why. I did end up really enjoying The Love Hypothesis, so I was like, I have hope. I feel like I'm going to enjoy this one. And also Booked and Busy gave this a 5 stars, and like I said, she barely gives out 5 stars, and it was very interesting that she even gave this one 5 stars, and that was only her 3rd 5-star this year. Okay, then this one has been on my list for a couple of months at this point. It is on my November TBR, but I don't think I'm going to get to it. I don't even know if I'm going to get to it before the end of the year, but I really would have liked to, because this is like the highest rated, this is actually the number 1 book on the New York Times Best Books of the 21st Century. This is the number 1 book. So that's why I was kind of thinking about reading it this year, and that is Elena Ferrante's My Brilliant Friend. Now, this is the first book in, what is it? I keep on forgetting what the series is called. It's on the front. Why do I look at the inside flap when it's literally on the front? It's called the Neapolitan Novels. And like I said, I did put this on a Goodreads poll, and I did also put it as like my period prompt in November, but I don't know if I'm going to get to it because, again, there's a ton of romantic books I want to read still. But this one did sound really good. But also I feel like if I start this, like, it's not going to be a series that, like, I have to binge and, like, I have to read all of the books. Like, I just read the first book in the Thursday Murder Club series, which is the Thursday Murder Club, and that was the book I read right before the book that I'm reading. But I don't feel like that's a series that's, like, essential for me to read every single book in and binge it. Like, for me, I hate being in the middle of series. There's actually 3 that I'm in the middle of right now. But that's because they're, like, series that I don't need to read consecutively right after the other. Like, Go Hex Yourself, I read in October. I haven't read the second book yet, What the Hex. But, like, I can read that whenever. And then the second book in the X Hex series, which is The Kiss Curse. But I'm literally going to read that right after I'm done with the book that I'm reading. Because I want to read that before The Wedding Witch. Because The Wedding Witch is on my Christmas TBR week. So I want to read that. So I want to read The Kiss Curse before I read The Wedding Witch, obviously. And then the third one is the Thursday Murder Club. But I feel like I don't have to essentially read those, like, consecutively. I think I'm going to read, like, one of those a month. But then I have to pick up the other 3 books. But I might just read them on Kindle. But anyway, I'm excited to read that. I don't know if I'm going to get to it this year still, though. And then I am actually going to read my first TJ Klune book. I keep on putting Under the Whispering Door on my TBRs, but I am going to read that this weekend. Like, right after the new release I'm reading, I'm going right back to my TBR and reading The Kiss Curse and Under the Whispering Door. And then Songbird and the Heart of Stone comes out literally on Tuesday, so I'm just going to read that. But at least I'll read 2 more books that are on my TBR for November. But I really do want to get to The House of the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I know the second book just came out, I think in August or September. I think it came out late summertime. But I don't know. I really want to read this too. I don't know if I'm going to get to it this year though, because if I do, then I'm going to have to pick up the second book and read it, because I have a feeling that I'm just going to be obsessed with this author, because I hear nothing but amazing things about TJ Klune's books. And since there were 3 authors that I really did want to get to this year, and that was Kristen Hanna, TJ Klune, and Frederick Bachman. But I didn't realize, like, I was only going to be able to get to 2 out of the 3, because I haven't even gotten to a Frederick Bachman book. And again, I haven't even read TJ Klune yet, but I feel like TJ Klune is something that I would like more, because I'm a huge fantasy reader and I want to read something that's like fantasy magical realism. So I really want to get to this too. So I'm not sure if it's going to be this year though. I just want to read the synopsis really quick, because I haven't even read it yet, and just sounds so intriguing. So it says, a magical island, a dangerous task, a burning secret. Liam Baker is a by-the-book caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth. At 40, he lives in a tiny house with a devious cat and his old records for company. But his quiet life is about to change. Linus is summoned by extremely upper management and given a curious and highly classified assignment: travel to an orphanage on a distant island and determine whether 6 dangerous magical children are so dangerous, in fact, that they're likely to bring about the end of days. That sounds so good. Like, what? I can't wait to get into his world, because I feel like I'm going to be obsessed. And then the last one, which I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about this book, but I don't know why this book intrigues me so much, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Erin Morgenstern. I almost said Stein, but it's Stern. I got this at Barnes & Noble. I don't know why I'm saying that. But anyway, I don't know. I was just really intrigued on reading this, and I really do want to read this in the winter time. So this might be one I either get to in December, but again, it's not a huge priority. It might be on my December TBR, but like I said, mostly all of these books are going to be on my December TBR, because like I said, mostly I like having big TBRs, because I don't feel so restricted of keeping to the same 6 books, because I feel like, you know, it just depends on what we're in the mood for 99% of the time. Sometimes you don't even want to read the books on your TBR, even though you think you're going to be in the mood for them. So that's why for me, if I pick a wide range or like 20 books for my TBR, it gives me a lot more wiggle room, and then it makes me tend to stick to my TBR, because there's so many like options that I would be wanting to get to, rather than just picking 6 books for prompts and that's it, and that's my TBR. I'm like, no, that's like way too restrictive for me. Like, I gotta have my options. So this one says, the circus arrives without warning. No announcements precede it. It is simply there when yesterday it was not. Within the black and white striped canvas tents, and it is an utterly unique experience full of breathtaking amazements. It is called Le Cirque de Rêves, and it is only open at night. But behind the scenes, a fierce competition is underway, a duel between 2 young magicians, so Celia and Marco, who have been trained since childhood, expressly for this purpose by their mercurial instructors. Unbeknownst to them both, this is a game in which only one can be left standing. Amidst the high stakes, Celia and Marco soon tumble headfirst into love, setting off a domino effect of dangerous consequences and leaving the lives of everyone from the performers to the patrons hanging in the balance. I just read the whole synopsis. It wasn't even that long. That sounds really good. I don't know why it's so controversial though, or why a lot of people don't like it, but I guess I'll find out reading it for myself. So those are like all the like super priority ones, or like the palette cleansers that I'm going to throw in between. Excuse me. And then the 3 Christmas reads, like I said, are going to be The Wedding Witch, obviously, by Erin Sterling. And then the other 2 are actually they're actually all continuations of series, which is so funny, because I'm literally like finishing a series and continuing a series, and also continuing a series with The Wedding Witch, which is so funny. They're actually all continuations of series, but they just so happen to be Christmas books. So I'm actually like keeping up with my TBR, just reading these during Christmas, but also like they work because they're holiday reads, but they also like literally just align with my TBR as well. I didn't even realize that. So the first one is Spectacular by Stephanie Garber, and that is like 3.5 in the Caravel trilogy. But it's mostly just like a holiday kind of picture book, to be honest. So it won't even take me that long to read. It's just like such a pretty book. So I have it sitting on my shelf. So I'm definitely reading that during Christmas. And then, like I said, the second one is The Wedding Witch, which I'm just going to read on my Kindle. And I'm just going to read The Kiss Curse this week. So I'll be caught up with the series. So I'll be ready to read that in December. And then the third one is The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. And that is the third book in the Dream Harbor series. And this book just came out, I believe, at the end of October. And I had read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe and The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore both at the end of September. So I would be ready for The Christmas Tree Farm when it came out, but I wasn't going to read it until December. So those are my 3 Christmas reads. And like I said, literally works out perfectly. And then I just wanted to say the priority romantasy reads that I'm going to be reading literally next week. I'm just going to include it in this because they're still like kind of technically included in my 10 before the end, but these are my Kindle reads. So I have Quicksilver by Callie Hart, definitely reading that. Everyone and Their Mother has loved that book, so I have to read that before the end of this year, so I'm reading that next week. And then also Metal Slinger, everyone has been talking about that book as well, so I have to read that too. I can't remember the author's name at the current moment. Let me just... Metal Slinger. I actually did start it a couple of days ago, and I'm going to be reading it on my Kindle. Like I said, Rachel Schneider is the author's name. I'll just show it to you really quick. And then next up, where is it? I also have this one on my shelf, but I'm just going to mention it because I don't feel like getting up and reaching it again. But this one is on my Kindle as well. This one just came out like a couple of weeks ago. So this one is a pretty recent release, but a lot of people are already talking about how good it is. And that is Bloodguard by CC Robson. So I'm also definitely going to be reading this next week. And then it just came out on October 8th. So it only came out like a month ago. And then the last one, and then I will shut up because I'm literally blabbing, but this book is blowing up right now. And I got it as my book of the month in October. I actually didn't get a book of the month for November. Just like none of them intrigued me. But like the past couple of months, book of the month had some really good like super popular fantasy books like Phantasma in September. And then this book in October. I didn't think this book was going to be so popular, but literally like everybody is talking about it, and that is The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle. I'm also going to be reading this book next week. So I have a lot of romantasy homework to do next week. So that is everything as far as all the books that I really want to get to. And then I just wanted to mention my current read, which is Skyshade by Alex Astor, and this is the 3rd book in the Lightlark saga. I guess because it's called a saga, that's why... There is the potential for a 4th book because Emmy Roseham just read this book. She got the arc, so she read it before everyone, you know, like, because they were obviously sending out arcs like the last 2 weeks before it came out. This just came out like 3 days ago, though. So I started reading this on Wednesday, and I'm pretty much more than halfway through. I'm on page 228, and I am absolutely loving this so far. So this is included in my romantasy vlog. So this is my 3rd romantasy book that I'm reading for it. I read Throne of Secrets the first day of November because that was the first one that came out. It came out October 30th, but I didn't read it until like November 2nd because I was still reading like my last spooky books before Throne of Secrets, but that was still the first book I read in November by Carrie Maniscalco. And then the other romantasy book I read so far for the vlog is 6 Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent, because I'm going to be reading The Songbird and the Heart of Stone next week. So that is going to be the first romantasy book that I'm reading. And then I'm going to read Quicksilver, Metal Slinger, and Blood Guard. So those are all going to be read next week, and those are all Kindle reads. So really enjoying this so far, really liking it. I need to go because my voice is like so dry and my mom is like about to make dinner. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on my Instagram at CBW819 and check out my Poshmark at the same handle. Let me know if you guys are reading any of these books. Let me know if you're interested in any of them. There will be a romantasy vlog coming, like I said. And yeah, let me know what your priority books are going to be before the end of this year. Are there any that you really want to get to, or are you just a mood reader, or do you even care about getting to certain books and you'll just read what you want to read? So let me know. I hope you guys have a great night, day, whatever it may be, and keep reading. Bye!